Hey everyone, welcome to the evolution of gaming. It's time to figure out which consoles made console games and which consoles made console fame. Let's kick it off with the first generation. How did all this stuff really get started? A fellow by the name of Ralph Baer, after he built the Brown Box in 1968, while he was working in a defense company in New Hampshire, and decided, I think everybody should have a console at home. Sadly, only 7 were made. So not too many of these bad boys hanging around. Next was the Magnavox Odyssey in 1972, the Magnavox Odyssey 300 in 1975, Telegame's Atari Pong in 1975, and Coleco Telstar Colortron in 1975 as well. As you can see, there's many consoles, but not as many as the second generation. The only ones that were able to make it to the second generation were the Atari 2600 in 1977, the Coleco Vision in 1982, followed by the Atari 5200 in 1982 as well, with the Magnavox Odyssey 2 in 1982. Some new people on the scene include the Fairchild Channel F in 1976. In 1977 was the Bally Astrocade and the Mattel Intellivision. In 1982 was the Emerson Arcadia 2001 and the Vectrex. Due to a stream of bad games from the Atari 2600, though, the gaming industry crashed from a multi-billion-dollar industry to only a few $1 million in the industry. Oddly enough, the crash actually propelled us into the third generation, in which Nintendo decided to remarket the console gaming experience into more of a toy, with the introduction of Rob the Robot. Sega also came out with their own console, called the Sega SG-1000 in 1983, along with the Nintendo. However, it didn't get as much publication as Nintendo, because it was not marketed as a toy. Next was the Sega Master System in 1985, kind of a revamp of the old Sega SG-1000. And then an old hitter, back from the last generation, was the Atari 7800 in 1986. The clear winner of this generation would have to be the Nintendo, mainly due to the fact that they marketed certain games such as Super Mario Bros., Metroid, The Legend of Zelda, and others like that. So they ended up making a franchise off of these names as well. This kicks us off into the fourth generation. Starting off in the fourth generation is the NEC Hudson Soft Turbo Graphics 16. Wow, what a mouthful, in 1987. Then comes the Sega Genesis in 1988, the Super Nintendo Entertainment Center in 1990, the Commodore CD-TV 1991, and the Philips CDI in 1991 as well, the Pioneer Laseractive in 1993, and the SNX Neo Geo CD 1994. You'll notice that this is the generation in which CDs are introduced into gameplay. However, their potential will not be fully realized until the next generation. Coming up into the fifth generation, we get started in 1993, in which the 3DO, the Atari Jaguar, Atari makes another comeback, but however it'll be its final comeback. The Commodore Amiga CD32. The Commodore tries to make a comeback as well. In 1994, Sony will come out with its own console game called the PlayStation. And you'll want to keep a close eye out on this newcomer, because he's going to be playing a big part in the next generations to come. Sega Saturn comes out in the same year, along with the Apple Bandai Pippin in 1994, and the Nintendo 64 in 1996. The clear winner in the fifth generation would have to be the Sony PlayStation. The main reasoning behind that is because it is more cost effective to make games on CDs rather than an entire motherboard system in a single cartridge game. Plus, seeing as many of the systems will soon go to CD format. However, Nintendo 64 is a hard hitter due to many of the games that were on there, including one of my favorites, GoldenEye. The sixth generation starts off with the Sega Dreamcast in 1998. This will, however, be Sega's last venture on the console market. Next is followed up by Sony PS2 in 2000, the Microsoft Xbox in 2001, and the Nintendo GameCube in 2001 as well. The Sony PS2 holds the record for selling the most any console ever made. The 7th generation begins mainly with 3 players in play. Microsoft Xbox 360 comes out in 2005. Sony PS3 comes out in 2006, as well as the Nintendo Wii comes out in 2006. The main difference between these two consoles is the 1-year difference between the Xbox and the PS3. The Xbox ended up cranking out so many different games that it almost drowned out the PS3. However, the PS3 came back with a vengeance with introducing a new concept called the Blu-ray disc. So who won the 7th generation is still up for grabs. Some say Microsoft Xbox 360, and others say the Sony PS3. The next generation is considered the 8th generation, and it's the current generation that we are now in, this being 2014. It started with the Nintendo Wii U in 2012, and the Ouya in 2012, which most people say that the Ouya is, well, it's gone. The Sony PS4 in 2013, the Xbox One in 2013, and the Valve Steam Machine in 2014. That's a brand new concept. The PS4 and the Xbox One, they both had kind of rough starts, considering that most console games are now going into online status. And the Sony PS4 has its own online servers, so it's not compatible with the PS3, which is to its downfall. Same concept with the Xbox One, being that they too also have their own dedicated servers and not compatible with the Xbox 360. So there's some people who have said, why switch right now? Buy the console. So this being the 8th and final generation, we still don't know who's going to win this fight in the 8th generation. It's up for grabs for pretty much anybody. Thank you everybody for joining me in this little walk through history and to see which consoles actually did make console fame and which consoles only made console games.